This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN News Watch. I'm Wendy Griffith. Today is Monday, September 8th, and we begin with news from the Middle East. President Trump has issued his last warning to Hamas to release the remaining hostages. This comes as Israel is keeping up the pressure on Hamas with more strikes in Gaza. Israel also still facing terrorist attacks. At least 6 Israelis were killed on a bus in Jerusalem today. CBN's Chris Mitchell has more in our top story.
In addition to murdering multiple Israelis, the 2 Palestinians injured nearly 20 others. The terrorists boarded a bus and began shooting before they were eliminated. The terror attack follows a Houthi drone strike Sunday that hit the airport near the resort town of Eilat. While Israel faces multiple terror attacks, President Trump sounded optimistic about a deal to free the hostages.
We're trying to get it ended, get the hostages back, get it ended. We got them all back, but 20. And as you know, we have 20, plus there are a lot of, unfortunately, dead bodies involved. And they want them back. The parents want them back. So we had some very good discussions, but things could happen.
On Truth Social, Trump issued a strong warning. Everyone wants the hostages home. Everyone wants this war to end. The Israelis have accepted my terms. It is time for Hamas to accept as well. I have warned Hamas about the consequences of not accepting. This is my last warning. There will not be another one. Hamas responded by saying it will immediately sit at the negotiating table to discuss the release of all prisoners in exchange for a clear declaration of the end of the war and a complete withdrawal from the Gaza Strip. Trump's warning comes as Israel continues its campaign to take over Hamas's last major stronghold, Gaza City. The IDF has destroyed a number of high-rise buildings in Gaza City and released this video showing how Hamas uses them as military headquarters. Israel is warning Gazans to leave the city to get them out of harm's way. So far, about 100,000 have left, but Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Hamas is trying to get them to stay.
To remain there so that they can serve as a human shield for them. Incidentally, it does not skimp on means. We only recently saw that it shoots women and children in the legs and, if necessary, shoots them.
Netanyahu also admitted because of the war, Israel is paying a high price in the diplomatic and propaganda fields. He says the best way to fight this is a quick end to the war and victory.
If I have to choose between victory over our enemies and bad propaganda against us, I choose victory over our enemies, rather than the opposite. I don't want articles that we are defeated by our enemies and that we receive good obituary articles in the world media. I choose victory.
Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is with us now from Jerusalem. Chris, what's the latest on this terrible terrorist attack that happened in Jerusalem today?
Well, Wendy, it was a horrific scene. 7 confirmed dead right now. There are other people that are literally fighting for their lives in some of the Israeli Jerusalem hospitals here, not too far away from where we are in the Bureau right now. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the scene. The IDF is now looking for any accomplices in some of the villages right around Ramallah. Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar, he came out with this statement, and he rejected the attempts right now to force Israel to accept a Palestinian, what he calls terrorist state in the heart of our tiny land. He said the terrorists this morning came from the PA territories that exactly the kind of terrorist state that would be established, and they have one goal: the elimination of the state of Israel. And this is something I got earlier today from the Palestinian Media Watch, Wendy. And just 2 weeks ago, an official from the PA television said this very thing: Allah, count them one by one, kill them one by one, and don't even leave one. And this is the kind of result of this kind of incitement that comes regularly from the Palestinian Authority.
Horrific, Chris. Well, how has Israel responded to accusations of genocide?
Well, they're rejecting them, Wendy. They call it false, outrageous. Netanyahu said in a speech I heard not too long ago, if they wanted to commit genocide, they could have done it on October 8th. Ambassador Mike Huckabee has said in the past, if Israel was committing genocide, they're really bad at it. Last week, there was a statement by one particular group of genocide, quote-unquote, scholars. Now 170 professionals in the fields of genocide and international law. They're demanding this group, it's called the International Association of Genocide, to rescind their resolution from last week. And Wendy, what Israel does to prevent genocide, they provide humanitarian aid. In the last couple of weeks, 1,900 trucks were collected and distributed into Gaza. Close to much of that was food. And they say they're going to continue to provide humanitarian aid into Gaza for the civilian population.
And Chris, why was the elimination of Hamas leader Abu Obaida, I think I'm saying that right, why was so significant?
You said it right, Wendy. And a lot of people don't know who he is. But to Hamas, he was a very, very important figure. He was one of Hamas's most wanted men by Israel. Hamas invests more in public relations than terror because it knows it can't defeat the IDF on the battlefield, so it invests in propaganda. And so what this man did was build a propaganda and a psychological warfare machine of up to 1,500 operatives. About 1,000 of them are on the battlefield, trained in filming in the field. Every division had a propaganda command center. They oversaw the October 7th filming. And what he did was he managed the hostage videos that were designed to influence Israeli public opinion. So he was the mastermind behind much of the Hamas propaganda that we've seen in the last 2 years.
Chris, why do people say a Palestinian state would be so dangerous?
Well, I think you can refer to what Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar said earlier today. A terrorist state, it would be a terrorist state designed to eliminate the state of Israel. And you heard what that incitement said just 2 weeks ago. They're calling for, and this is a PEA official, and it was here in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount, calling for the destruction, for the killing of all the Jews in the world. And that's why many people say a Palestinian state would be a terror state designed to eliminate Israel.
Chris Mitchell, our Middle East Bureau Chief, thank you so much for your insights. Stay safe. And in other news, South Korea authorities say the nearly 500 people arrested Thursday at a Georgia Hyundai plant will return home. The raid occurred last Thursday as federal agents detained the workers who were suspected of being in the United States illegally. President Trump now calling on foreign companies to respect U.S. immigration law and says he welcomes foreign workers who come here legally. Well, coming up, defending America's first freedom. The White House takes aim at anti-Christian bias. See how they're protecting believers and calling on them to stand strong in the war for religious liberty. Stay with us. You're watching CBN News Watch. On day one of his second term, President Trump said America needs God and religion. He established the White House Faith Office and a task force on anti-Christian bias. The president also launched the Religious Liberty Commission. As CBN senior White House correspondent Kelly Wright reports, the commission will promote religious freedom throughout the country.
In launching the Religious Liberty Commission, President Trump made clear through an executive order that not only is religious liberty enshrined in America's Constitution, it needs to be enforced and protected. White House Faith Director Jenny Korn explains part of the commission's mandate.
It's all people of faith. So we have Jewish, we have imams, we've got Christian, we've got Catholic. We want to make sure that everybody understands that faith means people of all faith from every background, because that is what this country was founded, the freedom of faith. And so we are representing people of all faith.
Korn adds members will also focus on how religious freedoms have been attacked, citing the case of former high school football coach Joe Kennedy, fired from his job for praying on the field after games.
In case after case, talking about what has happened in this country and how our religious freedoms are really at stake. When Coach Kennedy has to go all the way to the Supreme Court for kneeling on a football field to pray, we have a problem with religious freedom. And that's only one example. And so the Religious Liberty Commission is people who are so educated on what religion actually is, and they're going to make sure that policies that affect people of faith know exactly what religious freedom means.
Objectives of the commission include exploring America's foundation of religious liberty, identify its impact on society and current threats to this right, develop strategies to preserve and enhance religious freedom for future generations. The commission is made up of 13 members with diverse religious and professional backgrounds. Leaders include Chairman Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Vice Chair Dr. Ben Carson, and Alveda King, the niece of Martin Luther King Jr. What does it mean to serve on the Religious Liberty Commission, and what is your role with that?
I spoke to a group of young people up on Capitol Hill yesterday through the Coral Ridge Ministries, and they asked the question, well, why is it that in America you could speak of your faith as long as you don't say you're a Christian? I said, well, you know, that's not exactly true. The First Amendment allows us as Christians to speak freely as well. And that's what the Religious Liberty Commission is doing.
Stretch your hands, lay across.
And most of the work that I'm doing nowadays is involved in reminding people that we can still proclaim our faith in the public square in the United States of America.
Alveda, what are the challenges that you see that may lie ahead in terms of America and its embracing one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all?
We are one blood and one human race, which led the preachers in my family, and I count myself as one, the family that birthed Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., my dad, Reverend A.D. King, my mother, Dr. Naomi Ruth Barber King. And so the scripture, Acts 17:26, of one blood, God made all people. So we're one blood. We're one human race. And as we can see each other in that manner and not divide because of skin color or gestational age or whether we're elderly.
So with the Religious Liberty Commission, how do you help? What do you see ahead in terms of helping Americans understand that love can drive out the hate and light can drive out the darkness?
Very few days from now, we'll be back on Capitol Hill at the Museum of the Bible, actually, not exactly on the Hill. And we'll be speaking about education. We're concerned for these parents and young people who will be in school and they want to express their views as Christians. And the teacher may not agree and can give them an F. They can fail a class for saying what they believe. And so we're asking for testimony.
What's your hope for America?
So as long as America cares, loves, listens, as long as we do that as a people, I believe that we will continue to see many advances, and there is hope for America.
Praying for the protection of the nation.
There is actually hope for America.
Kelly Wright, CBN News.
For years, Kenya was known as the pride of East Africa because of its stability, strategic location, and tourism industry. Well, today, the country is dealing with political unrest, including deadly anti-government protests. I recently spoke about these issues with a former leader who wants to be Kenya's next president. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and his wife, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, just finished a U.S. tour, rallying support from fellow Kenyans living abroad about their plans.
I am a front runner, and I think I have the best chances to be president.
Last October, after 2 years of serving as deputy president to President William Ruto, the Kenyan National Assembly voted to impeach Gachagua on charges ranging from corruption to violating the oath of office. You pled not guilty to all of the charges. Why do you think you were impeached?
The president had already made up his mind that he needed me out of office. I'm a practicing Christian, and there are certain things that I couldn't agree to.
His biggest concern, President Ruto's controversial shoot-in-the-leg policy, designed to curb anti-government protests.
Anyone going to set ablaze anyone's business and property, such a person should be shot in the leg, be taken to hospital, and taken to court. They should not kill him.
Still, in the past year, dozens have been killed in clashes between police and demonstrators. Several news outlets also report people being abducted for practicing their constitutional right to free speech.
And I tried to persuade him in private within government that it is not right to kill young people because they were expressing themselves and he couldn't hear of it. I had to call a press conference as deputy president and disagree with the president in public. And he decided that we couldn't stay together.
Ruto denies responsibility for the deaths and blames political rivals for sponsoring violence within the protests. So far, President Ruto's office has not responded to CBN's requests for information on why Gachagua was removed from office. However, the former deputy president compares himself to another impeached official.
This is the same thing that happened to Donald Trump. He was impeached because of what he believes in, because of his principles, because of doing what is right for the American people. I stand for what is right, and I would not have agreed to be part of government that is killing young people for whatever reason, because it's against the Ten Commandments, it's against my Christian beliefs, it is wrong.
And just like President Trump, you've had many attempts on your life.
Yes, they wanted to poison our food. It did not happen. And when I left office, my security was withdrawn, and there has been about 4 attempts on my life by armed criminal gangs under police supervision. And it has not happened because God has taken care of me. Again, it's a Trump experience.
Despite all this, the 60-year-old Gachagua says he's the man to lead Kenya into the future. In fact, you have declared yourself the front runner for the presidency. Why do you want to be president?
Well, the Kenyan people have put a lot of pressure on me because they are looking for somebody who is truthful, somebody who has integrity, and Kenyans, 82% are Christians.
Gachagua says the biggest issues facing his country, political corruption and violent protests.
The opposition has been captured, and all these institutions of oversight have been compromised, coupled with the violation of human rights, making sure that there is nobody who can hold the president to account.
Another concern is terrorism. Although the situation isn't as bad as many African nations, Kenya keeps soldiers on its borders with South Sudan and Somalia. The military presence often provokes attacks against Kenyan citizens.
We have our soldiers in Somalia, and as a result, the Al-Shabaab keep on having reprisal attacks on the Kenyan population. All we have to do is continue upping our game in terms of intelligence collection, in terms of protecting our towns, our cities, and our people. I must say that we are very grateful to the American government for the support it has given the Kenyan government on the war on terror in terms of sharing of intelligence and the military bases that are in Kenya.
You are a lifelong Christian. How does your faith affect your political decisions?
When you are practicing Christian, undoubtedly you become a very good leader, especially if you are true to the Christian values. Our Christian faith, is very clear on family values. And to build a strong nation, you need to build strong families.
With 2 years before the election, the former deputy president says he has faith in the political process.
Kenya is a democracy, it's a constitutional democracy, and we have elections every 5 years. Much as we are struggling, we want to wait for the elections on the 10th of August 2027. Kenyans will wake up early, go to the ballot, and elect leaders who can take care of their country.
He wants to remind people that a strong Kenya is not only good for Africa, but for the world.
Kenya is an anchor state, and the stability of the Kenyan nation stabilizes the East African region, which is also important for American strategic interests. So a stable Kenya is good for America, and it's good for the world.
An interesting conversation. Well, coming up, faith leaders talk about the revival generation. Stay with us. We're seeing more statistics now that show millennials and members of Gen Z increasingly flock towards faith. CBN's Billy Hollowell recently talked with politicians and faith leaders about this trend at the Kennedy Center premiere of CBN's new film, The Revival Generation.
Young people across America are searching for truth and turning to faith in record numbers.
It certainly feels like there's something happening and the tectonic plates are shifting and that this younger generation, we may not have seen anything quite this seismic spiritually among a younger generation since the Jesus movement.
While debate centers on the term revival, Dr. Ben Carson is among those who believe the cultural conditions are ripe for one.
I've been thinking for a long time that we need a revival. We've had 4 of them in the history of our country, usually around pestilence or war. We got all kinds of things going on. It's time for one.
Young people are increasingly engaging with faith. The American Bible Society recently reported a 29% increase in Bible use among millennials between 2024 and 2025, with scripture engagement among Gen Z rising from 11% to 15%. Dr. Carson has been seeing this firsthand.
I've been seeing some really encouraging signs as I travel around the country, particularly among young people. And I think many of them are saying, well, we've experimented, we've seen where the other way leads, and it's not a good place.
Other data shows a historic shift as young people are now the most regular churchgoers. Representative Marlon Stutzman believes it boils down to a thirst for truth.
I think that's what young people today are wanting more than ever. There's so much information at their fingertips. They have access to information around the world within seconds. But I think at the end of the day, every one of us as human beings, we want to know what is truth, because that creates stability in our lives.
From college campuses to communities across the nation, many believe a powerful move of God is underway, a revival sparking hope in a generation hungry for truth. Billy Hollowell, CBN News.
Thanks, Billy. An encouraging word to start our Monday. Well, that's it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen today. You can email us at newswatch@cbn.com or reach out on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. We hope you'll join us next time. From all of us here, have a great day and God bless.